Hi, this is Jeff Owens from the Classic Horrors Club podcast. Welcome to the video companion for episode 60, Back to the Drive-In Part 3. This video contains more movie clips than ever with highlights and bonus features from the full podcast, which you can find on SoundCloud at the link shown below. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The end is near, makes me faint. Colors of destruction are vivid like paint.
Do you think it's true? Will the world be destroyed? Or is that girl just paranoid?
I never thought Godzilla'd make us cry. Is it really him or something else in disguise?
I knew it! It's aliens trying to take over. The reality is making my drunk ass sober. You're not Godzilla, just a big fat phony. Came to Earth with your alien cronies. Broke my jaw, kicked me in the balls. Had no choice but to make a call.
From outer space, walloping kaiju all over the place. It will conquer the earth unless my fountain and prove our worth.
Richard, I said it last time, we are the unluckiest. It's raining again, but yet we're also the luckiest because tell our YouTube friends where we're going.
Hello, YouTube! All right, well, it's August. It's month 3 of our Summer at the Drive-In Part 2, and we are going back this time to 1977. We're going to the Skyview Drive-In at the corner of 23rd and Coltrane in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Yes, Oklahoma.
Your old stomping grounds.
Yeah.
And great triple feature. We've got Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster. Now, if you're wondering which one that is, yes, that's the terror of Mechagodzilla. And then we've got Kingdom of the Spiders with William Shatner. And then we've got, and this is the first city showing for Night of the Damned. Now, if you're wondering what Night of the Damned is, that was a re-release title for Messiah of Evil. So, Cosmic Monster, 1977 re-release for the U.S., a few years after its original Japanese release. Kingdom of the Spiders has just come out. It is going to be, it's kind of late in the season, although it's August, here where we're starting out in 2021. When we get there, it's actually going to be early November 1977. So we're wearing shorts. I'm kind of hoping it's not going to be too cool.
No, Oklahoma, it'll be. It depends. I've been outside playing in shorts on Christmas Day.
I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
But
with our optimism, it's going to be nice.
Yes, absolutely. So here's a little something about the Skyview Drive-In. Opened in 1948. Closed in 1983, so it still had about 5 years left in it before it finally closed up shop. Now, the cool thing is that in 2021, you can still kind of see where the theater was. Mother Nature's reclaimed most of it, but there's a church on the corner of the lot, and supposedly behind the church there's some of the old speaker poles are still there. No speakers on them anymore, but they were kept there as just kind of a homage to the past. And when you do a sky view using, Google Earth, you can see the where the screen was at one time, and the rows of where the cars were. Trees have grown now in kind of like a semicircle. So you can kind of see the old image of where the drive-in would have been. So kind of cool. Mother Nature's just reclaimed it, but we're going to be going to it when it was still in its, prime, but it's going to still be open, and a great triple feature. We got Godzilla, and we've got Captain Kirk. What more do you need? And the third film is just going to be the icing on the cake. I have seen all 3 of these movies. It's been a long time since I've seen Messiah of Evil. And I don't care how many times I see Kingdom of the Spiders. It's still a fun flick. And come on, Godzilla, whether he's fighting the Bionic Monster or the Cosmic Monster or Mechagodzilla, it's classic. Classic Godzilla.
Yeah, it's kind of appropriate there's a church sitting on the corner because drive-ins are definitely holy ground. And I think that says something, the way it has evolved, and you can still see the speakers and
absolutely
the trees and everything. That's just awesome.
Well, and we have our lucky shirts on. You know, I've got my lucky Pink Floyd shirt on that we've been wearing now for 3 drive-ins in a row. So hopefully, maybe third time's a charm. Maybe it won't be raining when we get there. But if it is, it's cool because you know what? It stopped. It's like it's done the last 2 months. It'll stop this time.
Yep. So, you've seen all these movies before. I have not. Oh, yes, I have too. But it's been a long time for Godzilla. But I just want to say Messiah of Evil is a recent watch of mine. And I love that movie. So, that's one of those rare ones that I watch on Amazon or something like that. And I like it so much, I immediately order the Blu-ray. So, can't wait to talk about that. That's a very interesting movie.
I don't have the movie in my personal collection, but I have seen it. It's been a while. It does pop up with semi-regularity on the Film Detective channel. It's part of their library because it's like technically kind of sort of public domain. It's one of that gray area. And, you know, Kingdom of the Spiders and Godzilla have both been given nice Blu-ray releases. So, and I've got both of them in my collection. So, gonna be fun. Fun night at the drive-in.
Did we tell everyone who we are?
No. Nobody has a clue.
You know, this is just obligatory because you, of course, know who we are, and you've been with us all summer
but
long.
Maybe it's a first-time viewer.
Oh, I know. Yes, apologies. Welcome, whoever you are, new or old.
No, we're not watching Earthquake Part 2 as we're on the way to the drive-in, so pardon the bouncing around, the special effects.
Yeah. So I'm Jeff Owens from ClassicHorrors.club.
I'm Richard Chamberlain from KCCinephile.com and MonsterMovieKid.wordpress.com.
Yes, and I run a transportation time travel business on the side when I have time. Of course, using it for ourselves whenever I can.
Yes, the Wayback Machine is fired up. We're going to be going through the portal and traveling back to 1977. And you know what? You never know who you're going to find at the drive-in. We've been having some guests all summer long.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Like-minded monster kids.
Well, of course, monster kids.
We shouldn't be surprised.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And you never know. Maybe we'll run into somebody else in this episode.
I bet we do. All right, let's strap ourselves in. We got our seatbelts on, but we're getting ready to make that jump, and we will see you all when we get there.
See you at the movies.
And a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon.
Stripes and bright stars. Show starts in 4 minutes.
It's refreshment time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
We've a large assortment of freshly made sandwiches. How about a pizza? None better anywhere. Sizzling hamburgers grilled to your taste. Mouth-watering chili dillies.
The Bionic Monster, a menacing giant, an awesome machine, unleashed with a deadly task. Godzilla, the only hope for Earth's survival. Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster. Godzilla strives to win supremacy in a fight to the end. Will Godzilla triumph? The Earth survive? Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster, an earth-shaking movie, rated G.
Richard, we just saw Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, its original title, also known as Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster. This was the 14th movie in the Showa era Godzilla series, of which there were 15. What'd you think of it?
You know, this is not a go-to for me. Mechagodzilla is not one of my favorite adversaries, which puts me, I know, in a minority because this is typically, you know, one of everyone's favorite Godzilla films, or Mechagodzilla is one of the favorite adversaries. But I always kind of prefer Godzilla fighting the fellow monster, you know. That said, I think my thoughts about the Mechagodzilla film series probably been tainted a little bit because I feel like it got watered down a little bit in the 90s and a little more in the Millennium era. So this is my first watch of this in a while, and I did enjoy it. Absolutely. I know that, you know, certainly, you know, looking back at the Godzilla series, the early 70s was kind of a rough time. We had, you know, Gigan and Megalon, and we had, you know, Dancing Godzilla and Talking Godzilla. So this was kind of a back to a more serious form a little bit, although there were still some elements, but not as much. And, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, not a big fan of King Caesar. I like the look. It's a goofier look, obviously, but maybe something you'd find in an Ultraman episode. However, you know, I thought it was something fresh and something different and fun, which this film needed when you've got Mechagodzilla, who was just so unstoppable and a big brute. Overall, I enjoy this movie. I do. You know, it's not a go-to Godzilla film for me, but it's a Godzilla film. And so any Godzilla film, for the most part, is going to be a go-to film. Matthew Broderick, I don't even consider that one a Godzilla film, but I enjoy that one for what it is. It's just not a Godzilla film. But anything from the Showa era, to me, that's Godzilla in his prime. Maybe, you know, Godzilla's Revenge or All Out, you know, Monsters Attack or whatever that baby, you know, baby Godzilla, you know, Minya, that's a tough one for me too. But I love anything from the Showa era. It's Godzilla, and it's there's so much fun, and that's what it is. They're supposed to be fun, and so I think from that perspective, I really enjoyed it. You know, not one of my favorite Godzilla films, but it's still a really well put together Godzilla film, and it's something stronger than what we had seen in their years previous.
Yeah, absolutely. This is coming after Godzilla versus Megalon, which I love. Well, I grew to love. I used to despise that movie, but I love it now. But very, to me, at the silliest of Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when he's sliding along on his tail. So this is a more slightly serious, more story, pretty intricate plot. I mean, it's sort of like James Bond meets Godzilla meets Planet of the Apes, sort of capitalizing on things that were going on in the 70s. I really liked that. I thought that was good. I am different. I really like Mechagodzilla. I just think it's really cool to see mecha versions of monsters, you know, like from King Kong Escapes, you know, Mecha Kong and this. And so I just think that's cool to see that counterpart. And he was quite a foe for Godzilla. I mean, he was
absolutely, yeah,
really had thought that Godzilla was out for the count. But this is another thing I liked that I understand was new at this point in the series, is that Godzilla is sort of charged up by the storm. He's struck by lightning many, many times, and there's this big storm, and that just really charges him up and gets him ready for battle again in the climactic battle. You mentioned King Caesar. Love him. This is the first time, well, this may be the first time I've seen this movie. At least I know it has in many, many years. I don't recall King Caesar. Loved him. Very different. You know, the kaiju usually aren't furry and fuzzy. They're usually scaly. And, you know, this guy is just, I love him. He's energetic. He sort of like a poodle dog man, you know, he's got a furry bouncy ears and a ball of fur on the end of his tail or whatever. I really liked that. And the whole story, the prophecy, and you know, it all ties together really well. Crazy to say that it's like a complex story, but there are a lot of elements and they go together really well. And
yeah, I mean,
I think they make it a very, very solid film.
On the Shisa lion dog guardian statues in Okinawa, so you've got something that's you know, based a little bit in legitimate lore, so to speak. That was different, and I think that to me adds almost a sense of legitimacy to the character or to the creature. You know, I obviously other monsters, you know, in the confines of the Showa era, they're always, you know, maybe historical to an extent, you know, or like Mothra, you know, but in the real world, you know, clearly they're not. This one, yeah, sort of, you know, in a weird kind of way. So I think that was something cool, something a little different that had been done in Godzilla up to that point.
It's bloodier than I remembered at the beginning. And by the way, I really like the reveal of Mechagodzilla at the beginning. Godzilla's fighting his old buddy Anguirus, and why they're friends. Why are they fighting? And well, we find out. But you know, Mechagodzilla grabs his jaws and there's bloody. He's pulling him apart. You know, and then Godzilla bleeds later, and a man gets shot and blood's spewing. I mean, I always think of these basically as kids' movies, and when I see them, I'm always surprised by the blood. But quite a few, especially even the Gamera movies, have a lot of blood.
Yeah, I think that we see so many that aren't violent that when you do see something where there's a little bit of blood, it can be a little jarring. And you know, we have to remember that Godzilla ran an incredibly long period of time, and technically is still running, right? We're still getting Godzilla films, and so there's going to be different levels of, you know, this one's going to be more for the family, more for the kids. This one's going to be more adult. This one's going to be, you know, no blood, little blood, a little bit more blood. Violence levels are going to be, you know, different, and I think that's what makes the Godzilla series so fun, is that it's lasted such a long period of time, and you get all these different periods of filmmaking, you know, evident. I mean, we've been going since 1954, and you know, still getting Godzilla films. The latest being this year, even though it's not made by Toho, it's got Toho's blessing on it, and it's you know, obviously not the same Godzilla, but it's a new version of Godzilla that, you know, familiar stories yet different. And I think that the Showa era is the one that we all grew up with. It's the ones we saw on television, or in some cases the drive-in, or maybe at a movie theater back in the day. I, for one, didn't see a real Godzilla movie in the movie theater until Godzilla 2000 came out. And that's the only one of, prior to Shin Godzilla or the Legendary films that I had a chance to see on a big screen. And I remember just the thrill of being in the theater watching Godzilla on the big screen. So seeing it at the drive-in like we have tonight here at the Skyview Drive-In has been absolutely fantastic. And thinking of the time period, 1977, Godzilla wasn't necessarily A-list monster entertainment anymore. We probably have a much fonder affection for the Godzilla movies now than the average moviegoer did in 1977, but still just as fun, and I think, again, considering where it had come from, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or the Cosmic Monster, or the Bionic Monster, a lot of fun. Again, it may not be my go-to, but that doesn't mean I don't like it, because it's Godzilla and it's Showa era, and I do love all of those movies, except for baby Godzilla, because he's a little annoying. But other than that, I'm on board.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say about it, and mostly, again, so I can put a clip in that demonstrates this, but the camera work is really good in this. And I think I'm not familiar with it being in any of the others, so maybe it's a development as it evolved, but the camera during the fights is moving, and it doesn't just zoom in, because I think a zoom is kind of cheap, but it actually like swoops down between them when they're fighting, and does a spin, 360 spin. It's really that not only physically adds to the action and makes it feel like stuff is happening, but it's exciting and fun to watch. So I think very highly of this. I know on YouTube here we like to do our likes and our dislikes. I don't have any dislikes of this. It is what it is, and it is an incredible amount of fun. I really, really like it.
Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely.
Dog days, hot dog days that is, somehow have a way of turning out to be fun days. The pop and sizzle of the juicy meat seems to say, come and get me, I'm done to a turn. Yep, hungry or not, it's hard to resist the tantalizing aroma and taste appeal of a sizzling hot dog. The nice part of it is, there's one waiting for you right now at the refreshment stand.
Show starts in 3.
Unknown species of horror is born as science fiction becomes science fact.
If you find any problems out there at the Colby place, just keep it to yourself. He's over at Colby's. He's found another 20 or 30 hills just like the one we burned.
I mean, this right here is scientific phenomenon. As you know, all species of megalomorphs are cannibalistic. If you put them together, they'll kill each other off. They just don't colonize like ants or bees do.
An army of deadly predators, searching, destroying anything in their path. Why did they come? What do they want? In the tradition of the great science fiction thrillers, Dimension Pictures presents Kingdom of the Spiders, starring William Shatner, Tiffany Poling, Woody Strode, and introducing Alta Reese Davis.
The spiders in this area have organized themselves into an aggressive army.
I've never seen anything like it.
One minute they weren't there, and the next minute they were everywhere.
Jump at a girl!
Listen, there's thousands of them out there. We'll never make it.
Why haven't we heard from the sheriff? He must know we're trapped in here.
I'm telling you, I don't think we should chance it.
Your nightmares will never be the same. Kingdom of the Spiders. The next victim could be you.
Kingdom of the Spiders, William Shatner, killer tarantulas. What more do you want out of a movie?
Say no more.
Say no more. Shatner's got a few bona fide horror films, really. I mean, and you talk about Incubus or Devil's Reign or Kingdom of the Spiders. I think maybe Visiting Hours and 81, maybe that's considered. I think out of his horror movies, I think Kingdom of the Spiders is probably the overall best as far as like from beginning to end production wise and overall look and appearance and sensibility. Devil's Reign is a lot of fun, absolutely, but it's definitely a different type film. It's definitely a little cheesier. You got to go with the whole Ernest Borgnine as the devil routine, which I love. But Kingdom of the Spiders was, I think, a fun, well put together movie, perfect for a Saturday afternoon matinee or a night at the drive-in or a late night creature feature. Sure, maybe the science is a little wonky because tarantulas typically aren't as deadly as they make them out to be in this movie, but it was a solid 90 minutes. There really wasn't anything that any moment in the film that dragged. It was once the story starts, I mean, bam, you're right into the story. Yes, you have to make it past that opening theme song, Peaceful Verde Valley, and that in itself is an accomplishment. But once you do, the movie gets right to it, and it keeps on going right until the very end.
Down in peaceful Verde Valley, who knows what tomorrow may bring?
I think William Shatner's in his element here. He plays Rack Hansen, and he's a vet, and not the first time that he played a vet, because I think he played a vet in a movie called The People, if I remember correctly, in the early 70s. But here, I mean, he gets to kind of play the cowboy a little bit, and I think as you commented on, about the fact that he just looked like a natural on horseback, and he's that's been his passion for the last at least several decades, and obviously going back to the 70s, his passion for horses was clearly evident in this movie. And I mean, once we see him, basically, corralling, he's got the lasso, and he's just playing the part. It sets the tone for the movie. He's our hero. He's for the most part in Captain Kirk mode, but he doesn't really have any moments to give a speech. And actually, I don't even think in this movie that he does the stilted, way of acting, which he's commented on. That was kind of his back to his Shakespearean days, and the style that he picked up, and it's been exaggerated a little bit over the years. You don't really see that in this movie, and I think maybe that's why this one stands out as maybe one of his better efforts, outside of Star Trek, and a lot of fun for me. I have seen it multiple times. I'll see it multiple times again. You've got a great supporting cast. You've got some fun music. Okay, not the Peaceful Verde Valley, but you've got some stock footage or stock music from the CBS Music Library, clearly, channeling the Twilight Zone at times. Sometimes you've got some weird choices, elevator music or 70s funk, but you've got it's a solid story. Again, logic, science may be a little wonky, but I think they give a good enough explanation as to what's going on. The spiders have been, essentially poisoned for so long that they're resistant, and they've kind of mutated, and they're angry, and they've formed an army, and mankind's bad, and so they need food. They're hungry, and well, speaking on behalf of a fluffy guy like myself, I'm a meal, obviously for a group of spiders. So that's the premise of the movie. And then from there, it's just, it builds to a climax where things just get totally out of control. And I love it from beginning to end. What about you?
Yeah, same. A couple things to piggyback what you said. First of all, I'm glad to hear you say it. I didn't know if you knew William Shatner was from Star Trek, so glad that you caught that.
You looked familiar. I wasn't entirely sure. I had to do some research. So yeah.
Yeah, and you say it's like his best horror movie. I also think it's one of the best Nature Gone Wild movies. This was an era of the Nature Gone Wild movies, and this is a very strong entry into that category. I think for me, one of the reasons I like it so much is a lot of those movies, the focus is how are we going to stop this menace? What can we do to kill them? That's not really part of this. They just want to survive, and it comes down to a night of survival. They're trapped in this cabin or lodge, and I really liked. It feels fresh and different. That's the sheer focus, man. This is a survival film. Will they survive this
moment, right, where they're going to poison them, and Diane Ashley says that ain't going to work. That's not going to work, and Rack is saying, I don't think you need to do that, but nope, we're going to do it. And that doesn't end well at all. And then from that point, yeah, it's like, okay, we don't have a plan. And that wasn't really a plan to begin with. And so now we're in survival mode.
Yeah.
And things are escalating very rapidly. So.
And that's when I don't have dislikes for this movie either. I don't have dislikes for any of these three, but on this one, there were some things that were sort of enough that I want to call out. One is their little boneheaded moments, I suppose. For example, they're trapped in this lodge and it's getting hot and the vents are closed. So, you're going to open the vents and see what's wrong. Why did they not think that a bunch of spiders weren't going to fall out of that vent when they opened it? I thought that was kind of silly. They should have known better than to do that. I love, back to the things I like, I'm not sure about budget. I think in general, it's a low budget movie. They really make up for that, and you can't really tell. I mean, they do a lot of shots, spider point of view, moving through the grass towards the victim. I think that's very effective, and not any of this like through bug eyes type thing where, you're seeing hexagons. It's just natural going through. They take a little and make it go a long way. And for me, if you're in a movie about killer spiders, you don't need 10,000 spiders. You just need one spider, and I'm creeped out,
Yeah.
And some of the most effective scenes are that when there are just one or two spiders threatening somebody. To me, those were scary enough, and they didn't need massive spiders, although there were scenes where they did attempt to, and obviously the gist of the movie is a whole army of spiders, but to me it was these little quiet moments that were actually, to me, the most scary.
Yeah.
Great makeup. The cocoons when people are wrapped up, I thought were really good. And this is a connection I made this time of my multiple viewings that I've never really noticed before, is they say that, why are they wrapped in cocoons? Well, they're preserving the food to come back and eat later. So then when you jump ahead to the end, spoiler alert, when the whole town is in a cocoon, it just dawned on me this time that, wow, that they're preserving that whole town. They're going to have their food lined out for a good long time because they've got the whole town in a cocoon.
Well, and I'm thinking, like, at that point, what's going to stop them from going on and moving on to the next town and the next town and the next town, because you've got thousands of spiders. We know that they had 5,000 for the filming, which I'm not sure where they were, but there's still a lot there. And so that's the whole thing at the end of the movie, right? It's like they've enshrouded this town, and it's like, well, where are they going to stop? They're going to move on, because did the word get out? I mean, obviously the university is aware that there's something going on, and so you would think at some point, they're not going to get a phone call, no response. They'll send somebody. They'll send the rescue party of red shirts in to discover, and it probably wouldn't end well. I mean, the possibilities for a sequel were clearly there. I don't know that the sequel would have been as good, because it would have been probably retreading things that they already did in the first movie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a Poseidon Adventure beyond the Poseidon Adventure. There's clearly an opening, but do we really need to take it? I'm almost glad there wasn't a sequel, because I don't think that it would have been anywhere near as good. I think what we got in this one was perfect. 90 minutes, great running time. We know what the end game is. Doesn't end well, for nobody in the movie. And spoiler alert, it's there's no happy ending here. Chilling end, and it's kind of like, the only thing you have to ask is like, where do they go next? They're going to go somewhere, but they do have plenty of food to last a while. So I guess maybe they don't have to travel. They'll just wait for people to come to them. So,
well, there is a brief mention that they say if this thing isn't localized. So there's the brief moment thrown out there that this could be happening in other places. So that's a chilling thought in and of itself. I do want to call out one scene that is very effective to me. It's the airplane pilot, and all of a sudden spiders start coming and crawling over him, and then the plane crashes. That's very reminiscent of a scene from Abominable Dr. Phibes, where it's not spiders, but it's rats that are in this plane, and the plane crashes. So I saw that sort of connection there. So a fun movie, moves quickly, very entertaining. Spiders creep me out, so that just automatically adds. But I think even if you're not afraid of spiders, what they can do in this movie is terrifying.
Yeah, definitely a creep factor. I'm not as terrified of spiders as I am of wasps or hornets, but still, spiders can be creepy. And I've seen a tarantula once, and yeah, it's a little creepy when you lift up a board and there's a tarantula underneath it. And I know my first instinct is not to save it, but to kill it. Carlo, don't tell her, because she doesn't want to hear that. But yeah, for me, I'm like, nope. Either if I can't get away from you, then, I'm afraid, it doesn't look well for you, Mr. Spider. So creepy, very creepy.
Yeah. So another good one, 2 out of 3.
Absolutely. So hopefully we go 3 for 3.
Well, we will see in just a minute when we come back.
We're now just 1 minute away from the beginning of our next feature. For your convenience, our refreshment stand will remain open after the feature begins, so you still have time to add to the fun of watching the movie. Before we begin our next feature, we'd like to remind you to replace your speaker before leaving the theater. If it is accidentally damaged, please notify someone at the refreshment stand. Again, thank you for coming out to the drive-in tonight. As you leave, please drive carefully and come back soon.
They say that nightmares are dreams perverted. I've told them here it wasn't a nightmare, but they don't believe me. They nod and make little notes in my file. Not far from here, there's a small town on the coast. They used to call it New Bethlehem, but they changed the name to Point Dune after the moon turned blood red. Point Dune doesn't look any different than 1,000 other neon stucco towns. But what happened there, what they did to me, what they're doing now, they're coming here. They're waiting at the edge of the city. They're peering around buildings at night. And they're waiting. They're waiting for you. And they'll take you one by one, and no one will hear you scream. No one will hear you scream!
Richard, this might be a good time to mention, this is just snippets and highlights and special features from the full-length podcast. I know we say it and it's cross promotion or whatever, but really this time you should listen to the podcast because there is a lot of information. We talk about the making of Messiah of Evil, which to me is just fascinating. I think it changed your perspective on the movie a little bit. And we can't possibly go into it here because YouTube probably has a 10-hour limit or something on its videos. But
I think with all of all these videos, right? We want to bring people into the fold, and you know, if that's all you've got time for, then we hope the video is entertaining. But if you got time for more, tune into the podcast. You're going to hear a lot more, and especially in these drive-in episodes, we've had special guests that aren't here with us on the video, but are on with us on the show. You know, we've had our good friends Bill Mize and Steve Turek, and this month we have our good friend Jonathan is going to be with us. So talking Godzilla, and he is a kaiju expert, and so that will enhance the conversation about the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the bionic monster from the cosmic outer region of space. Messiah of Evil, yeah, you watched the commentary or listen to the commentary.
Yeah, and so the writers and directors spoke about it. Just fascinating that this movie, not that it was made, but just that it has kind of turned into this cult classic, and they didn't have the interest in making a horror movie, any knowledge on how to make one, and the fact that it even came into being and we're even talking about it, to me is just fascinating.
It's a classic case of where like the behind the scenes stuff almost overshadows the movie itself or enhances it in this case, because this is a good movie. It's kind of quirky and it's different and it's public domain, so it's been out there in kind of grindhouse prints for a while, which actually haven't been bad prints. But it's not a traditional story. It's almost like a dream-like kind of think Carnival of Souls a little bit. And once I think this is a case where once you find out some of the behind the scenes stuff and maybe what happened to some of the actresses afterwards, you get all the extra stuff. It makes you look at the movie a little bit differently. It certainly did in my case. And I liked the movie to begin with, and I came out of our conversation liking it even more, to the point where now I want to add this to my collection. And I don't have it in my collection right now, but I want to add it because to me, this movie, there's a lot going on here that is worth checking out. It's fun. It's a fun film.
Yeah, very dreamlike. The atmosphere and mood, you know, plot aside, that almost doesn't matter. It is just unsettling and creepy, just, you know, a little off kilter. Plot points don't make sense if you want to dig in, and there's a reason for that. You know, they weren't meant to make sense, but the overall, you can kind of piece together a story and it makes sense, you know, on its own terms. Forget the details. A little bit Lovecraftian, definitely a little bit Night of the Living Dead. And a couple of two longer like set pieces that are really, really effective and really, really chilling. One in a grocery store, one in a movie theater, which is kind of, it's just a whole enigma, the whole movie itself, because those scenes are really sort of don't fit. Those are scenes like, okay, I'm setting out to make a horror movie and I know this would really be scary, so let's do it. So it's unintentional.
They take those two characters and separate them from the rest of the movie almost, and it furthers the story, but it really does feel like almost like a little spin-off story.
Yeah,
almost. I've been in a theater before where, you know, I'm like the only person in there, and it can be a little unnerving. And then when somebody does walk in, you know, you're kind of like, okay, now I'm not in here alone. And so I've never seen a horror movie like that, but I did see it was Passion of the Christ, and it was very different experience that I saw, that by myself, and it was a little unnerving at times. I can't imagine watching a really good scary horror movie in a movie like maybe Paranormal Activity, something like that in a movie theater. Then all of a sudden, if you hear a bump, on the other side, you start wondering. So that sequence worked for me because it was like we saw what was happening behind her. And then it's like, you want to yell out, it's like, girl, you got to get out of there. And then by the time the people are on the side of her, it's too late, and she's crawling over the seat and the popcorn box is dripping popcorn and she's trying to keep her eyes on the people. And then of course, she goes and I won't say the rest, but there's no way out for her, and it plays out rather chillingly, and not as bloody as it could have been, which I think is another thing that I have nothing against blood and gore, but sometimes less is more, and that totally works in this movie because you don't need to see all the blood and gore. I think it was fine seeing what we got, and that was more than enough, and it worked well, I think.
Cost has got to be paid for a tune. Not just with money.
Interesting that you say that. That's one thing I didn't mention out of the million things I mentioned in the audio podcast. The scene at the gas station where the attendant gets killed and the car rises and he, that they talk about that being the goriest scene in the movie. And did they intend it to be gory? Were they concerned about what rating this might be given when it came out? And like everything else in this movie, no, they weren't thinking about that. They weren't concerned. They didn't care. But that is about the goriest scene.
It is, yeah, it is.
Not that there aren't a lot of other horrific things that happen, but it's just more left to your imagination.
Yeah, it's kind of I think the best type of horror sometimes is the type that you don't see. It's what you may imagine, or maybe what you hear, or maybe what you feel. Going back to Paranormal Activity, I think the first time I saw that in a theater, that was a movie that worked for me the first time I saw it. I don't know what your experience was like, but it was like the found footage, and there was just certain elements about that just kind of creeped me out, almost like the first time I saw Blair Witch. There were certain elements of that left me a little unnerving because it wasn't like a traditional storytelling format. And so when you see something like this movie, or like Carnival of Souls, that's a little outside the norm and almost like you're in a dream state. It can kind of throw you off kilter a little bit, or like the classic Vampire or Vampire from 1932. That's kind of the same way. There's just certain elements about that movie that's just a little unsettling because it's not set in the real world. It's set in this kind of fever dream, and it throws you off, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, what am I seeing, what's real, what's not real, and that's where I think Messiah of Evil, I think is a film that deserves a little more love than it gets. It gets some recognition. I think it needs to get more, not simply because it's public domain and is easily accessible. There's something here that's definitely worth checking out. I'm not, I don't go down the path of like, why, I think this is an allegory for this or that. No, I think I know the movie is what it is, but it's more than just a throwaway, public domain flick, which can be entertaining as all get out. But when you see something that dives a little bit deeper into the filmmaking process, whether it was intentional or not from the filmmakers, the end result can be better than your average public domain flick.
Yeah, I will give everyone a clue, though, to pay attention to the narration, because if there is any sort of architecture or structure to give the film, if you listen carefully, it gives you clues.
They say that nightmares are dreams perverted. I've told them here it wasn't a nightmare, but they don't believe me. They nod and make little notes in my file, and they watch me now, waiting for me to scar my breasts, to eat insects maybe, or to lift my dress like some crazy old woman and urinate on the floor. But there's so little time left. You've got to listen.
And then there's just some great lines. There's some really funny lines in the movie, and then a really great monologue by Elisha Cook Jr.
Mama delivered me herself. She took me from between her legs. Bloody little mess. Just about to feed me to the chickens. And Daddy said, maybe we could use a boy, Lottie. That's how I came into the world.
It's just crazy and scary and funny, and just so much to love about this movie. Of these three movies, this is my favorite. Like I say, I like them all. I hardly have any dislikes. I do think I like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla second. Just for the fun factor. King of the Spiders third. Process of elimination, really. I just like the others. Nothing wrong with Kingdom of the Spiders. I love it. How would you rank the three?
Mine's going to be totally different from yours. Yet, I preface it by saying I loved all three films. So for me, Kingdom of the Spiders is still first place. Again, probably nostalgia, just the overall fun factor of the movie. It's not part of a franchise. It's not something that, it's a pretty straightforward story. And so for me, it's just a fun go-to film. Second would be Messiah of Evil, and that's probably different than I would have when I woke up this morning. It was a little different. This is a movie that, upon second viewing, I have a vastly different opinion of the movie, and I think I almost look forward to seeing it again. I want to get the Blu-ray, and I want to see a great print of it and watch it again, and I think I'll enjoy it even more. And then Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. While I may not be a Mechagodzilla fan like a lot of other people, I still love Godzilla. Like I said, it's still Showa era. This is classic Godzilla, and even a lesser Godzilla film for me personally is still a great Godzilla movie, and it's a solid number three. I loved all three films. This would have been an awesome. It has been an awesome night at the drive-in.
Yes,
in November 1977 in Oklahoma City. I wish we had these kind of triple features today. I wish we had these kind of things that happen at least at drive-ins here in Kansas City. They don't do the fun stuff like that. I know there's some drive-ins back east that do it. The Mahoning Drive-In, the Riverside Drive-In. I wish we had more of these kind of fun triple features today, because I would definitely be going to the drive-in and checking these out, because this has been a lot of fun. It's been a fun summer at the drive-in.
Yeah, luckily we have this, machine that takes us through time and space. The interior changes, the weather outside changes. It's this remarkable little machine in a bubble. But yeah, this has been a great summer, a lot of fun. Look forward to doing it next year. We'll be back next month with our regular show. We've got a good lineup then. But for now, I believe we'll head home and sign off. I do want to mention the song we're going to be listening to at the end. It's called Mechagodzilla. This is an interesting mix. It's a Hectic Mao remix, and the group is Zardonic and Krusha. The album it's from is Far Beyond Far Beyond Bass, the Vulgar remixes. It's available on Apple Music. You can enjoy a little snippet of it now on our way out. And if you like it, go buy it. So Richard and everyone, thank you. We will see you next month.
Thank you for our Satanic September.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Mechagodzilla.